Hello, hello. Welcome to our channel. Thanks for tuning in today. Really good to see everybody. And today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about basically how you can find the best and lowest prices. And this is an industry sort of secret, if you will. A lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of different times through the year that you can travel, and there's a lot of different times of the year that you can book travel. And one of the things that we travel agents know from years and years of looking at prices and looking at all different combinations is that the best time to possibly travel, if you can, is at the beginning of December. You might think that that's not the ideal time, but that is when the cheapest prices are out of the entire year. So it's just after hurricane season. That, of course, runs from the beginning of June until the end of November. And then after that, pretty much everybody is in this crazy pre-Christmas mode. The malls start to get busy, the roads get busy, everybody's stressed out because they're planning who to invite, who they have to invite that they don't want to invite for Christmas dinner, that kind of thing, or other holiday parties, as well as all the extra costs that are going on. So it's nice just to be able to take a week or two and get away from all of that. Now, if you can afford to be away for the entire holiday season for Christmas and New Year's, even better, because when you come home, of course, there's all those Boxing Day sales that are still on, but you can avoid all of the chaos. And I mean, all you have to do is go to Costco parking lot in any time in December, and it will remind you why you don't want to be here. But the weather is, generally speaking, quite nice. If you're going to, anywhere in the Caribbean or Mexico, the weather is usually quite favorable. Cabo San Lucas, because it's so far north, or Mazatlan, which is a similar parallel, can be on the cooler side. But the thing is, overall price-wise, that is literally the cheapest time of year for you to travel. Of course, you go from Christmas and New Year's, then you go straight into peak season. That's January through till April, kind of May. And then what happens is May is when there's sort of early release for the kids who go to school in Mexico. So families in Mexico will start to travel. So that's going to fill up the hotels. And then June and July, same sort of thing. Also, that's when anybody who's a teacher or a parent who doesn't want to pull their kids out of school to go on vacation, that's when they're going to travel. I mean, it is peak season. It's not peak season, it's hurricane season. That is a bit of a challenge, but of course, sometimes you travel when you can. And you just have to be aware of the weather, and of course be mindful of any hurricane activity or that kind of thing. And of course, it can also mean that your weather is pretty yucky. I've certainly been to Mexico many times in June and July and August. Not only are the pools ridiculously hot because of the intensity of the sun, but also it's very common for there to be rain showers, sometimes pretty torrential rain showers. When the pool reaches the point where it's so full of rainwater that it's overflowing, that's maybe not the best time to be there, but it is what it is. And at least you're not at home working or doing the dishes or cooking. So that's kind of a relief. Then you move on to September, October. Well, August, September, October tend to be the peak times for hurricane season. Still very, very, very hot. And then October, November, those are really popular times to travel. But of course, that's when you're going to see a lot of destination weddings that are going to be filling up the resorts, because although it is still hurricane season, you're kind of past the peak of it. And also you've moved on towards calmer weathers. So, and also the prices are lower, like compared to having a destination wedding in February or March, where you're also competing with college and spring break for elementary and high school students. The prices in the fall are significantly less for destination weddings and for group travel in general. That said, as soon as you hit December, like I say, everybody's mind mentally shifts to gotta get ready for the holidays, whatever you celebrate, and they stop thinking about travel. So From there, we go to, really lower prices. Hotels generally aren't as full, and because they're not as full, that means the prices are a little bit lower. So we just came off of Cyber Monday, well, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week, and even now, the prices that you'll see if you look at December rates. I mean, we are looking at last minute now because tomorrow is December. Oof. Where's my son? But look, I mean, the prices, generally speaking, if you were planning a trip in the fall, if you can push it to first or second week of January, basically you want to travel before about the 19th or 20th. So you want to be home by those dates, give or take, because that's when all the holiday travel is going to start to happen. So people visiting relatives, people flying to get home, people flying home from work, whatever the case may be. If you can get home before then, that's ideal in terms of your price grid. I know for us in Canada, we prefer to be, the direct nonstop flights. We don't want to connect in other cities. I know we don't want to go for just a week. We don't want to go for just a weekend. Unless it's a quick little trip to Vegas. But if we're going to a beach vacation, we want it to be a week to 10 days, ideally 10 days. A lot of people think that 2 weeks is too much. But I don't mind. I can suffer through. I usually will stay at 2 or 3 hotels anyway, so it changes up automatically. But if you're just going to go for 1 week or 10 days and you want to go on vacation, that is your ideal window. Now, by comparison to how Canadians typically travel, Americans is a whole different common theme of their travel, and that's a lot of them will typically travel over a weekend. So they'll take Thursday to Monday or Friday to Monday kind of thing. They don't mind connecting. Kudos to Americans for being significantly more flexible. But also what you'll see by comparison to Canadians, Americans will spend a little bit more. They will tend to splurge for upgraded rooms because they're not going for such a long duration of time. And part of that all stems from just the amount of vacation time that they typically have by comparison to Canadians. So it's quite interesting when you boil it all down to see how things interact and how they how those change things for other people, and pricing. So as I said, if you can go in December, first or second week is usually the best price out of the entire year. And we're in a situation now, we're looking at the beginning of December as of tomorrow. So if you are thinking about planning your trips for next year, and if you're not a spur of the moment kind of person, if you're spur of the moment, then you're just looking for last minute deals. And if you find a deal, book it, hop on a plane, and away you go. But for those of you who are more intent on planning and budgeting for your vacations, then I would consider December if you can. Like I said, the weather tends to be starting to get really, really crummy at home. I'll use a nice word for that as opposed to the ones I'd prefer to use. Because it's really quite disgusting outside when it is so cold that you've got to bundle up like crazy and you're still chilly outside. This is coming from the west coast of Canada where our weather is actually pretty decent. But it's cold, right? Everybody wants to have longer days and a warmer weather. And I think the length of the day is probably one of the biggest things that is kind of soul crushing and defeating when your daylight only lasts like 8 hours for the whole day. Ugh. So if you can do a last minute special, all the better. And once we hit January, February time, we're into the peak of winter and we're into the peak of all that yucky weather. So ideally though, that's a nice time to get away. If you can afford to do 2 trips a year, I would offset the expense of your spring peak season vacation with considering something in December. And then, there's a whole myriad of other things that you can look at when it comes to calculating stuff, which is, whether you book direct through the hotel, and with the loyalty programs, those are a big thing to consider. Whether you book as a package deal, an air and hotel package deal, or whether you book through a tour operator. In Canada, we have the luxury of being able to book in any of those ways. And our prices are usually a little bit less. Now, there are certain restrictions on which hotels we can book for foreigners. So if you're American and you want to book through a Canadian agent, that is possible. However, some hotels have restrictions on it, and they will actually revert your rate because the rate's only applicable to Canadians. But for what it's worth, it's interesting to note that sometimes those can be pretty big savings. Christine's commenting here, heading back in 2 weeks. Nice. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, so that's a perfect example to be able to go for, what's that, twice as long. Well, not quite twice as long, a little bit longer, and to be able to go for a lower price. What did you think of the resort, by the way? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. But oh man, imagine 2 weeks time to know that you're going to be heading to the sun. I really just, I envy you. Jelly, jelly, jelly over here. So I do have these little comments down below. So I have added channel memberships. So if you are looking for BTS behind the scenes stuff, if you're looking for more videos, insider tips, that kind of thing, I have started to do that now. So if you are interested, we'd love to see you as a member, and it really helps out the channel. Really, really helps out the channel. So thank you for that. Oh, good, good, good. So glad to hear that you enjoyed the hotel. Well, obviously you did because you're going back. So that's fabulous to hear. Also do please, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. All that's going to do is give you a notification that there's been new videos that have come out. So hit that bell, and then you don't have to worry about ever missing a video. And you'll also get notified of any live videos that I'm going to do. And speaking of which, next Wednesday, so I had a comment the other day on one of my videos, and it was, this way, comparing the cost of cruising to all-inclusives, because they are very different beasts. And in terms of what's included, if you've only cruised, the idea of doing the all-inclusive can, in the past, there's been a lot of push where cruise lines have suggested that you get way better value by doing a cruise than you do by doing a hotel. I think that they're completely different beasts and they serve completely different purposes. But we will go through. So I'm going to go live next week. So next Wednesday at noon Pacific, get rid of this, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to go live and talking about cruising versus all-inclusive. I'm going to try to get a couple of my other YouTube friends online as well, some of my colleagues who are cruising people and some of the people who are all-inclusive people, and we're going to do the rundown. So much has changed with cruising in the last, well, since COVID, that things have really changed a lot in terms of the overall value. Yeah. So this is just it, like, but now a lot of them are including the drink packages for free. So that is a bit of a game changer. And that's something that we want to talk about. Also, I will say that since COVID, there has been exceptional demand for resorts, hotel, all-inclusive bookings. The cruising it's picking up. But it has come kind of slowly. Now, those who are cruising, they are cruising like crazy because there are some incredible deals to be had out there. But what we want to do is we want to compare those. So going back to today's topic of the best price of travel, by comparison to Cyber Monday, Cyber Week, Black Friday deals, the best prices that you can get are if you can travel in that first or second week of December. But also, as I say, I would consider looking at cruising if you're not doing the all-inclusive thing, because there are some incredible deals to be had. And we're just coming up to the season when there's going to be lots of cruise sales coming on. So I look forward to chatting with you guys about those because, like I said, they're two different beasts. If you go to an all-inclusive resort, you get there, you unpack, you take your watch off, or you throw away your phone, put it in the safe, or you carry it with you if you're like me. But you don't have to worry about time constraints. Whereas on a cruise line, it's forever like, what time is lunch? What time is dinner? What time is the disembarkation to get to such a port? What time do I have to be back on the ship? So that's a very different thing. That said, it's kind of cool to wake up in the morning, open your curtains, and be in front of some brand new island or a brand new destination, a new port city, where you can have a completely different experience than if you just wake up at your all-inclusive resort. Sure, you open the curtains, the beach is there, the pool is there, but that's a trade-off, right? So some people would really appreciate the fact that you've got the consistency and the easiness of the all-inclusive resort, and then some people prefer the variety of the cruising. So we're going to talk about all of that as well. But like I said, the key takeaway here today is the first 2 weeks of December. If that's when you can travel, that is when you're going to find, generally speaking, the lowest prices of the entire year. So that's really something to take a look at for maybe for this year. It's a little last minute, but definitely for 2024, to consider that if you're planning a fall getaway. So take a look at, like I said, those first 2 weeks of December, ideally coming back, returning home by about the 19th or 20th. If you can afford it, stay for the holidays, enjoy it. Why not? Because they will cook for you, they will clean for you, they will make your bed. Doesn't get much better than that, right? No stress, totally stress-free. So thank you for joining me today. Oh, we've got another comment here. Okay, so Jane. Hey, Jane, how are you doing? Cruising out of Ottawa, searching March, early April. Okay, so the tricky thing with that is that you are into spring break. I believe, generally speaking, that in Canada, for US, spring break seems to jump all over the place, whether it's, whether it's college, whether it's schools, I mean grade schools, elementary school, high school, that kind of thing. Whereas in Canada, Eastern Canada seems to do spring break in the first week or two of March, whereas Western Canada seems to do the last 2 weeks of March. I think you guys in the East only get 1 week, whereas we typically here the kids take 2 weeks off. So it's an extended spring break. So you'll see a lot more people traveling during that time because it's easier to get away. You can work the numbers a little bit differently because you can do midweek travel instead of Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday, where you can have the majority of packages and a little bit higher pricing because of the demand. So looking at that, I would probably be taking a look at early April more so. Not sure where you're looking at cruising. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate it. So let me know where you're thinking of cruising, because that plays a big part of it. If you're, from Europe to the Caribbean to Mexican Pacific, like mine, Riviera Maya, I shouldn't say Riviera, Pacific Coast, Mexico. I forget the phrase they use for those Mexican Riviera, I think, for the Pacific Coast cruises, where you're going to go see, Cabo, maybe Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, possibly Huatulco, although those are pretty rare ports. But the big three would be, Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, and Mazatlan. But again, I would be looking at probably the beginning of April. If you tend towards seasickness, and we talked about this last week on our Black Friday special with Amanda, you want to book as soon as you can, because midship makes a massive difference to getting cabin that is second to the end of the ship, the front or the back, either way, either side. If you are not in the middle, you're going to feel the waves significantly more. So booking early will afford you that choice. The difference between cruising and, of course, all-inclusive is with cruising, you can select your cabin. You can also choose a guarantee. If you don't care, if you don't get seasick, choose a guarantee cabin, and you've got a better chance of getting a complimentary upgrade that way. But if you book a resort, I mean, you just get the room that you get. There's not really any factors that are going to affect that other than specific room categories that you book, or whether or not you're a membership, a loyalty member, that kind of thing. But yeah, first time cruising, it's different, especially if you've done the all-inclusive thing. So we will talk about that next week a little bit more. So tune in, Jane. Hope to see you there. And we will talk about some of the things that you need to know if you're a first-time cruiser or your first-time all-inclusive guest, because some of the things are vastly different, some of them in a good way, some of them in a bad way. So you want to be aware of that so that you're prepared. Because look, if you know ahead of time that something's maybe not going to be quite to expectations, or you can lower your expectations, that's fine, you can deal with it. But if your expectations here and you get there and the reality is here, it's going to be a problem, right? Okay, yeah, perfect. Great. Well, I hope you tune in. That'll be great to see you. So thanks everybody again for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Bye for now.